Bouldering is super popular right now. And one of the reasons that I think that is because it's so accessible and easy to get into. You don't need a rope, you don't need a harness, you don't need carabiners, you don't need this thing. In fact, all you do need is a solid pair of shoes. And I suppose, optionally, some chalk, preferably in a cute chalk bag. Now, there is a huge variety of climbing shoes available. However, one shoe, this one, the La Sportiva Solutions, are absolutely everywhere. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Let's review them. I want to introduce you to a pair of old friends. These are my absolutely ancient Tenayas SXRs. I've been climbing in these things for years. I learned to lead climbing them. I guess you could say that we are soulmates. But unfortunately, they are starting to collapse. And so I had to buy a new pair of shoes. And since the La Sportiva Solutions seem to be so ridiculously popular, I thought I'd use this opportunity to buy them and see what all the fuss is about. So I headed down to my local shop. No, actually, I just bought them online. And in a few days, the package arrived. And I took them down to my local gym at Beta Boulders in Van Losa to see how they performed. But in addition to that, I wanted to give them a bit of a challenge. So I decided to see which would perform better. My brand spanking new pair of La Sportivas or my absolutely ancient pair of Tenayas. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of the competition between the two shoes, one of the things that I really liked about the La Sportivas is how comfortable they are and actually how quickly I broke them in. Now I'm long past the days of trying to force my feet into the smallest shoes I possibly can. But even so, when you get a new pair of shoes, it often takes a few sessions before you are climbing comfortably. But with the La Sportiva Solution Comps, actually I was able to climb basically straight away. And all the footage you're going to see is from that first climbing session. Let's get on with it then. So first up, it's the old Tenayas on this lovely little blue problem right here. It's a step up into this undercling, which is a move that I just really enjoyed. Now you'll notice that the footholds are really small, but actually they're pretty generous as long as you have a little bit of accuracy. Still, I thought this was a good climb to start with because it requires a little bit of accuracy with the toes in the footwork, as well as a smear that you'll see right now on this volume here. But for the first climb, obviously, we don't expect too much trouble. Now we suffer a little user error here and I actually mess up the start, but that's nothing to do with the shoes. That's just because I tried to, for whatever reason, overconfidence probably, go dynamically. But if we do the move statically, you'll see we make it through, no problem. If you're wondering why I'm not using the edge, there is a tiny sign there that is actually telling us we're not allowed to do that. But we don't need it. This is the first test. And to be honest, not much to separate them. So we have to move on to something a little bit harder. So this time we're starting out with the La Sportivas and we are supposed to go dynamically on this orange V4, V5 problem. Like the last problem, it's a slab with some pretty involved footwork and this foot swap and using this little chit with the left foot is the crux. Now, before we even start with this, a point in the favour of the La Sportivas is that there's a shard of rubber digging into the back of my heel here. And on this climb, I really did start to notice the difference between the new and the old shoes. You can't really see, but the footholds here are really tiny, especially this last one that lets me go to the end. And I was just way less confident doing this foot swap. So, the La Sportivas edging ahead as we go into the final round. So the final round and back to the original wall from round one. This time not the blue though, we're going to be climbing on this red one here. And my first attempt was actually pretty decent. This problem really is all about footwork and the Tenayas actually hold up pretty well for a reason we'll discuss in a minute or so. And as you can see, We have a pretty solid start for our flash attempt and managed to make it all the way to this volume over here on the left, but then we have to do this kind of strange foot swap and I'm not quite sure what to do, and I go down. And now the La Sportiva, and I really had a lot more trouble this time. I used the volume initially in the previous go and I'm trying to do the start properly, but you'll see here, even using that volume method, I still have a lot of trouble. I just can't feel my toes as well as I'd like. The Tenayas actually have a hole in the toe of the left foot, which means that I can really feel that small foothold incredibly well. So after a few more goes, I give up, and I decide to see if I can do the proper way with the Tenayas without using the volume. And actually, I come close on the first go, and after a few attempts though, I'm actually able to stick the move and get another good attempt at it, as you can see here. And after nailing the start move, I'm actually able to make my way through to the same point as last time. Now, unfortunately, as you're going to see, I'm going to slip up in the exact same place, but if you're keeping count, this actually makes it a bit of a tie for the two shoes, which is kind of crazy to think about. So that whole day I was projecting with two really nice guys, and one of them suggested, watching what I was up to, why not try what the pros do and use one of each shoe? You're not going to believe what happens next. Not a chance. You can forget it. So there you have it. You might not be surprised that a dramatic soundtrack didn't immediately just make me a better climber, but unfortunately we live in the real world and not the world of YouTube. And while I was recording this video, I started thinking about an analogy of wine. If you know nothing about wine, it's more important to learn the basics, to buy a wine that you like, know which varieties you like, rather than blow a load of money on a very expensive bottle. Whereas if you're a sommelier, a professional, then you really can tell those fine differences that make up a large amount of the cost. This means that even if professionals are using a shoe, us as amateurs might not be able to squeeze out every bit of that shoe's potential. Nevertheless, I would say that even though they didn't magically make me climb a grade higher, the La Sportivas are an incredible shoe for two reasons. One, the reason that I mentioned before, they're incredibly comfortable and easy to break in, which means you just get to spend more time enjoying climbing. And really, isn't that the important thing for most of us? And two, and perhaps more importantly for the, let's say, more economical among us, is that they are surprisingly durable for a shoe at this level. I don't know if you can see on the toe here, but I've had these shoes for now 6 months, climbing with them twice a week, and they're only just starting to show a little bit of wear here on the toe. And I just think that's incredible. Other shoes that I've tried of around the same price range, often the rubber is so soft that they only last maybe half that time before starting to show wear. So overall, I can really see why this shoe has become so popular, even if not from the angle of the professional climbers out there, but certainly amongst the hobbyists like us. So whether I can recommend these to you depends mainly on your budget and I guess the shape of your foot. But perhaps the best indicator of my confidence in these things is that when these ones are worn out and can't be repaired anymore, I will definitely invest in the same again. If you enjoyed this review and want to see me review something else, why not click the video that appears over the La Sportiva on the left? Otherwise, if you want to roll the dice with the algorithm, click the video over the Tenaya on the other side. Either way, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.